Your built-in Bernina buttonhole is amazing. You're going to notice that in your manual, it's going to have you take your bobbin case out of your machine, and if you'll notice, you have a single hole through this little finger. We're going to take and just add a little bit more tension to the backs or to the bobbin thread by threading that right on through. It's just going to stay in the regular tension disc right on through. That's kind of up in an angle, so kind of get that going in there, and then put this back into your machine like normal. So go ahead and slide that in there. Make sure it gets all the way placed. Cut the thread on the little cutter, and then close the door. When you have measured your button, you're going to go ahead and mark on your fabric where you need it to start and end. This is one of the new Frixon markers. It is a heat, it will be removed by touching an iron to these marks, but I do need a beginning and an ending point. Being that this machine will not remember my length, I need to mark where I'm sewing between, but they're just very easy to stitch. We are going to switch to the buttonhole foot. On a buttonhole foot, look at the back. It's got two channels that are very deep, and that will keep the satin stitching that you are creating running smoothly and straight underneath the foot. Line that up, attach, slide the thread underneath to the side. We'll start by lining up our beginning mark right underneath the needle. So as we start to sew, this is going to be the first leg of the buttonhole. So it's coming down the left-hand side. So what we're going to do is just keep stitching until I get to the second mark that I actually made. You'll stop at the mark and touch the reverse button one time. Once you've touched it, it's going to stitch backwards. There's a reason that Bernina has you stitching backwards here. You're going to sew until you reach your first mark once again. Lots of little stitches. Those are going to get covered up in a second. Stop when you reach the beginning mark. Touch the reverse button one more time. This is going to be the tack at the top. It's going to do just the right amount of stitches and then start down the right leg of the buttonhole. Now you'll be able to adjust the width and length of each of these, of the leg and the thickness here, just by going in and testing your thread and your settings you're looking for. We'll go right to about there, touch the reverse button one time. This is going to put the last part, the tack at the bottom, and a few locking stitches in. Keep your foot on the foot control until it stops completely. There's the stop. That means when I lift this up and pull this out, I can trim right next to the last stitch and not have to worry about those threads coming undone. We'll just trim to the back side. Being that you threaded the finger of the bobbin case, what it did was actually made this a prettier satin stitch. It pulled the threads to the back side so the top is going to look ideal. And I usually do that when I'm using any decorative stitches or decorative thread, or maybe I have a variegated thread on the top of my machine or in my needle, and I don't want the bobbin thread to show at all. Instead of adjusting the tension on the top, you can just thread the finger of the bobbin case, and it's going to pull it to the back for you and make it look perfect. Now these little gaps right here, I could go ahead and shorten up the stitch length and try it again, and then make that actually even better. Well, let's go ahead and even do that. I'm going to shorten the stitch lengths. We'll do 2 touches of the stitch length button, and then we'll go ahead and stitch again. I'll just kind of make my new length, kind of eyeball it here. Oh yeah, I really like this. Again, your thread thickness is going to change. Your machine, once again, doesn't know what kind of thread you have in the machine, so doesn't know what settings exactly it needs to be, but it sure gets you into the ballpark here. So I'm just stitching back. Oh, there we go. Don't go too far. Tacks at the top, sews down that other side. Love these because you can go super fast here. And there's our end. One last tap of the reverse button. There's my lock, and I'm done. Let's take a look at this one now. See how much different and prettier that is? So many people like the more solid looking buttonholes, and instead of having to go around it twice, you can just shorten the stitch length. If you want to know how to open these up, you can use the seam ripper or small scissors and clip that open. My preference is actually a buttonhole cutter, which almost looks like a small chisel and a block of wood that you put behind it, and then you just press smoothly down into that. Your Bernina dealer will have that accessory, something that I use all the time.